tonight's agenda, consent agenda for acceptance, and then just to update the CIP. It is a 2028 project right now in the CIP, and the project area includes Olivewood Drive, right here, and then Jewelwood, Jadewood, and then a small portion of Wood Road. Existing conditions, I'm going to go through these fairly quickly. Basically, both project areas don't have sewer and water right now. So this is the south end of Olivewood Drive, cul-de-sac, and then going north. And then this is the north end of Olivewood Drive. You can see that sewer and water were stubbed south into Olivewood Drive, and that was back in 2007. And then also a small portion of Deerwood Drive isn't improved right now. It's actually gravel. But there was sewer and water stuff west on Deerwood Drive to about halfway on that road. In the Boyer Road project area, you can see there was sewer and water stuff west into Boyer Road. That was done back in 2014. This drawing here, north is to the right. This is Jewelwood Drive. You can see the improvements stopped right at the intersection of Jadewood Drive and Jewelwood Drive. And then the rest of the project area does not have sewer and water right now. This is that same intersection of Jadewood Drive and Jewelwood Drive, and then the remainder of Jadewood Drive doesn't have sewer or water at this time. Getting into the proposed improvements, again, starting at the south end of Olivewood Drive. The red lines on the drawing are the proposed sewer, and the blue lines are the proposed water. Again, it's hard to see at this scale here, but sewer and water service to every property on the project. You'll see later on that we do have exhibits in there for splitting up properties for ERU purposes for assessment calculations. And then the yellow would be new bituminous roadway, and then the blue driveway is shown on the drawing. We extend bituminous driveways to the right-of-way line for every property. And again, stopping the project at the very north end, right where we stopped the project in 2007. And then this is the small section of Deerwood Drive that will get improved as well, sewer, water, roadway, driveways. One thing to note on this job is to service Olivewood Drive and Deerwood Drive, those existing sanitary sewer lines aren't deep enough to serve this area, so there will be a lift station that will have to be installed somewhere to the south. For the purposes of this report, we've shown the lift station down in this area right here. So it would involve bringing gravity sanitary sewer quite a ways to get into the project area. And you'll see in the project cost that that's reflected in there, that the sewer cost is quite large for this project, and that's why it really depends on where this lift station is constructed. It could be constructed farther to the north. It all depends on how this area develops. This area may develop before 2028, it might not. If it doesn't, the lift station could be moved farther to the north at that time.
So are you figuring a routing line in the assessments of all those lots, or is that a city cost?
It's part of the city cost, but remember the way we calculate assessments is you take the ERUs times the flat rate, and then any remaining cost is city cost. So the majority of this is all city cost. Then we get into the Jadewood, Jewelwood Drive area. Same issue we have here, Boyer Road. We tie into the existing sanitary sewer and extend that west along Boyer Road. And where we stop right here, just west of Jewelwood Drive, that's as far as that gravity line can go. So anything to the west of this project area, again, it's going to have to require construction of a lift station. On Jewelwood Drive, part of it is served from the north off of that line on Boyer Road, and then part is served from the south off of Jadewood Drive and Jewelwood Drive intersection. And again, the ends of these lines that's as far as we can go. We can't extend these lines any further. And then for Jadewood Drive, we serve off of the Jewelwood Drive intersection to about this location right here. So basically the south end of Jadewood Drive. And then this is the east north-south section of Jadewood Drive. That would be served off of Boyer Road. So again, we're extending the sanitary sewer as far as we can in this project area, with just the existing gravity lines. Typical roadway sections, this might spur some conversation here. Current roadway section is 24 feet wide, two 12-foot wide lanes. Right now in the report, we have 13-foot wide lanes, again, based off of that 26-foot wide roadway. So I don't know if you want to discuss that or not, about dropping that down to 24. We did for the Brentwood Drive area, but both roadways are the same. They're both 24 right now, and then proposing to go to 26 in the report. So that would change the numbers in there slightly.
I was planning on letting you finish your report and then.
Before going to that.
That.
Estimated project costs, you can see the sanitary sewer is about 3.4 million, and that's where I was saying that that's really a large cost, but a lot of that is that lift station, extra gravity sanitary sewer on Olivewood Drive, and then about 1.6 million for the water, 2.3 for the roadway. Total project cost is just over 7.4, it's about 7.4 million. Then getting into the project implementation, we use ERU assessments. Those are set by the council, and they increase 3% per year for the consumer price index, whichever is greater. These were the rates that were set by the council in 2024. So we just simply took those rates, tacked on 3% per year to get what's estimated in 2028. Again, they can change depending on what the council wants to set them at each year. And then all remaining costs are city costs. So using that process, sanitary sewer estimated project cost is about 3.4 million. There's 90 ERUs in the project area, and at $6,253 per ERU, collect about $563,000 in assessments, and then about 2.8 million as remaining city costs. There's also 30 existing homes in the project area, so the city would collect the sewer availability charge at $600 per house, and that would be another $18,000. So total project cost with the SAC charge is 3.4 million. Water improvements, about 1.6 million, again, 90 ERUs, collecting about 563,000 in assessments, and then about 1,080,000 in remaining city costs. Again, there's 30 homes, so we'll be collecting 18,000 in water availability charges for a total project cost of about 1.6 million. And then roadway improvements, we're at 2.3 million. There's 91 ERUs. So there's one more ERU for the roadway than the sanitary sewer and water. I'll point out on the assessment drawing where that comes from. ERU rate is $8,338 per ERU, so collecting about $760,000 in assessments, and then about 1.5 million is the remaining city cost. These are the assessment exhibits. The one on the left is for Olivewood Drive. Every circle, or red circle or blue circle in the drawing indicates one ERU. The red dots would be initial assessments, and then the blue dots are deferred assessments. And again, we looked at every lot to see if it could be split based on the city subdivision ordinance. And that's the next exhibits in the report. Again, we looked at every lot. We do a pretty detailed analysis of the lot showing, how it could potentially be split, showing setbacks, if it could be built on where there's wetlands and different things like that. We sit down with city staff, they're reviewed by planning and zoning staff. And on this project, we feel pretty comfortable that what we have in the report is accurate. So I don't really have any of these to review with you tonight. If you want to go through them, we can, but we didn't have any questions that we wanted to bring directly to the council on these. So, but I'll just quickly run through them. Again, I'm not gonna.
So the 90 RUs take into account all these lot splits?
Yes.
So potentially there could be 90 houses in here eventually?
Yes. Then I should mention where that extra roadway assessment comes from. And that's on the south side of Boyd Road at the very east end of the project area. They received sanitary sewer and water service, I don't remember the year. 2014, but they didn't get a roadway assessment, so they would get a roadway assessment with this project. That's where the extra ERD for the roadway comes from. So just a total project cost summary, you can see the assessed project cost, the benefiting property assessments, about 1.4 million. There's about 440,000 in deferred property assessments for a total of 1.9 million in assessable project costs. And then you can see the breakdown for the city cost. Again, pretty large number for the sanitary sewer because of that lift station and extra pipe, gravity pipe on Olivewood Drive. Roadway just over $1 million, water just over $1 million, roadway about 1.5 million. And then add back in those deferred assessments, this total initial city cost would be about 5.9 million. So the split on this is about 20% collected in initial assessments, leaving the city about 80% of the project cost. And that's right at the breaking point for being able to bond for the project. You need the volume, you need to have at least 20% assessed in order to issue those bonds. And total project cost is about 7.4 million.
So are you doing any assessments to the north side of Boyden?
Yeah, you go back and look at that drawing.
I thought I saw.
We applied the same,
Every 100 feet. Right?
yeah, we went every 100 feet, so I think there's 12, it was 11.
And that's road and sewer?
10. Sewer, water, roadway.
Sewer, water.
Yeah, there's 10 of them in there. Yeah, back when we did, in 2020, we studied Boyda Road. If you remember, the county was gonna improve that, so we did a study of Boyda Road. And it was the same breakout in that study as well, that they received an assessment every 100 feet.
And those center ones where it's really light, they can actually do a lot, buildable lot.
What was that?
The area where it's really light, you can actually get a buildable lot.
Oh, on
Just
the property to the
road.
north?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all up high ground.
All of it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. Yeah, that's just an open field there. It's not a wetland.
Well, I know we've been talking about a ditch going across there.
Yeah, that's farther to the north, right up in this area, where that ditch goes, just to the north of it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Again, we're just looking for acceptance tonight on the consent agenda, and then use that to update the CIP. You know, as you get closer to 2028, this report will be updated again with new numbers to use for the actual project.
Or any changes in policies or city ordinances.
Yep.
My only comment on it is if you take the 7.4 million and divide it by the 90 ERUs, it's $82,000 a lot. And we're getting 21,000 in assessments. So the city's picking up $61,000 per lot. I don't see how this is sustainable. I don't know how we're paying for it.
Just keep in mind on this, but it's really skewed by that additional.
It's skewed, but they're all meaning applicant subsidy.
Oh, yeah.
That will offset how we're financing that.
I'll jump in because that ties to the roadway width is part of why that cost is high. And then, so I would say, as you noted, I'm gonna push for keeping the roads at 12 feet lanes, and I would say maybe even 11 is reasonable, but 12 I can survive with. But that does go to lot splits and just the overall kind of theme that I've tried to bring up over the years is every foot of undeveloped land in front of a road that has sewer, water, and streets is a foot that's not going to be generating as much tax revenue as one with a house on it or an apartment building or a business on it. I know we've got a lot of privacy lots and a lot of desire to have large lots, but that's exactly why it's costing $80,000 a lot to have sewer and water. And the only reasonable solution I see is the idea of making things like streets narrower and lots smaller and providing the opportunity for that infill, because it won't be sustainable to continue to pay for sewer and water, particularly in areas where we're gonna encourage large lots or privacy lots to be maintained. If you look at the land within the city as the product that the city would be selling, yes, it's all privately owned, but the city's managing it in a way. The only way that we can derive income is from increasing the value of each square foot of land, and that empty land is just gonna always be a problem. So that's just kind of the theme as to why I'm in favor of the narrow roads, the smaller lots being available to people, and splitting lots when they're determined to be splittable.
Just a point of clarification, that $82,000 lot, that is the 100-foot wide lot.
Sure, that's,
Everything's split like they're showing.
yeah,
So, I mean, if you're thinking the smaller lots, that's a different zoning.
yes, and I mean, if we're being really honest about dollars and cents, I think smaller lots should be on the table and at least something worthy of consideration. And if 100-foot lot is already 80, maybe we need to look at an even smaller version of the R1A kind of zoning or something like that. And it's purely driven, in my mind, on dollars and cents. I don't know. You can't make a foot of water line cheaper, really. So it's just kind of one of those problems I see writ large citywide, is if we're not driving more density where we can, and we're allowing those expansions out beyond, that's going to continue to be a problem, and inflation is going to continue to drive that higher.
I did go back and just look at the report, just to give you an idea, the 2.8 million, about 1.2 million of that is for everything south of Alton Drive. Just to give you roughly what that costs.
Almost half,
Yeah.
45%.
Yeah.
So if the developer developed that lot in the next few years, that cost could come way down.
Yeah.
Because then it would be assessed to the developer on that property.
Yeah, so if you factor that out, it's 68.8 per lot.
Yeah. It's still high.
Oh, yeah, but I'm getting that.
One thing I think we have to do is we need to finish all these feasibility studies so we can put the whole picture together. And then exactly where you're going, Zach, is how do we make the plan feasible? Because pretty soon it's gonna show on the next one we're coming with, we don't hardly have 20% there either. In fact, if something changed in there and prices go up by 2030 rates the next one, 2030, then it could be 18% assessed and 82% city costs. Well, then we can't even sell bonds for the project. See, that's the other problem we're having here. This is not with inflationary costs. So it's,
Well, you would think though that,
because the pipe probably isn't gonna get cheaper for sewer and water, and the
no,
road
I
probably
was
isn't gonna get
just
cheaper.
saying the breakdown between labor and materials is both gonna go up, but
Yeah.
your assessment's not gonna go up at the same
The
rate.
assessment we took and estimated at that 3% a year, going up. Does that need to go up more? That goes back to the whole discussion. We should show you this whole picture of $100 and some plus million over the next 10 to 15 years. Is what are we gonna have to change? I think we're gonna have to change some ordinances and do things differently probably in order to make it sustainable.
Well, we got streets, water, and sewer, we've got city hall, we've got our water plant, we've got our wastewater plant. They want $100 million worth of work done.
next 20 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got a lot of things to get on. the
That's why we've got to get it all finished at a snapshot in time as per our current city ordinances and policies, and then put it together, and then what do we change to make it work? Yes. There's gonna be big discussions coming up. Real big discussions.
Wait,
We only have one more feasibility study to be done, and then we have the total picture put together. And it comes down to the finance department. Jeremy is working on that part of it too.
Just a curiosity question, and I should probably know the answer. I'm not an engineer, I don't build roads, but I drive them. If we narrow the road, what happens to the manhole covers?
Manhole covers still stay dead center,
They'll stay
on the center line.
Okay.
You know, we try to put every manhole in the middle of the street.
Because I'm hitting enough of them now, so I didn't know if that was gonna get worse. Or if we-
that's in very good though. That's in very good.
Thank you.
The widths of streets is coming with next year's proposed project, Clearwater, North Lindale. We have a presentation to put together just to talk about street widths on that project. As a prelude, but the bigger picture is it's everywhere. Zach says it's not gonna go away, these costs. How do you make it cheaper? More density per lineal foot, more houses. And straighter roads helps us too, Zach, less structures. The most costly for sanitary sewer and even water mains is the bends and the turns, and then the number of structures you put in. The more curves you got, the more structures you gotta put in. So if you do the old style lot block, nice straight 2-mile stretches of road, and then lot it off every 50, 75 feet, 100 feet, whatever, that is your cheapest construction.
You need to rebuild in better neighborhoods, so.
I know. Nobody wants the old style.
Nobody wants that.
No.
Maybe we need to go to Hunt Technologies and get these, small neighborhood sewer systems and start blocking those out instead of,
There's that possibility too.
miles and miles.
But that's not fixing the other problem that's coming is with the water, with the high nitrates and arsenic in the water, like starting to show up more and more. So that doesn't fix that problem overall, so then you still gotta extend water lines. Fix the sewer problem, by putting in the more aggressive systems, that last longer. But they're not cheap either. Just the mound system on that Lindale, that project is scheduled for 2026, and the realtor and the buyer come in last year, and that system was almost $20,000 just to put a new mound system. Just the septic system alone in that neighborhood. And I'm sure it was because it was so many numbers of bedrooms and stuff, so it was a pretty big system.
Okay. You don't need anything formal from us at this point.
Not at this point, but we would be seeking direction. If you want to pull off consent to make any modifications to feasibility study, such as the width, would be the time to do it, is pull it on consent and make a motion with the condition of the adjustments that council wants to see happen moving forward.
But we're gonna get that opportunity again before 2028.
Yes.
I think the biggest problem is the talk about it in every one of the feasibility studies. Is the city council gonna change the ordinance from 26 feet to 24? Change the ordinance and change it in all 5 feasibility studies. Yeah, and that's coming, that discussion is coming with SEH on the North Lindale Clearwater 2026 project. Are we gonna change the ordinance?
When are we gonna see that?
Next month, right? I think it's gonna be in May.
I'm just saying, I don't think we need to make the change on this project and order changes to this feasibility study until we make that decision.
No. I think you gotta do it globally and change the ordinance. If that's what the city council wants to do, and then we change it in all 5 of them and get the new numbers.
Okay, anything else? It's a tough, said this.